So happy to be joined on the podcast this week. It's sort of a different sort of podcast this week because I'm doing it on Zoom video conference with Frank Reich. Some of you will consume the podcast as you normally do, which is just simply, going to wherever you get your podcast and listening to it while you're walking the dog or doing whatever, or trying to kill some time at home. But if you can watch it this week, you'll be able to watch this portion of the podcast, me and Frank Reich talking. And Frank, thanks a lot for joining me this week.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Peter.
So you sit there in your home in Indianapolis right now, and I wonder, as you sort of go through the day-to-day part of your job, has it been very difficult, slightly difficult, or have there been things about it that you actually like?
I wouldn't say like is the right word. It's different. So there's some things about that is, and exciting is not the right word, but it gets your curious thing. You're doing something new. You're being creative. Everybody likes being creative. So, and feeling like we're discovering something and figuring out how to get better. I think we like doing that. And I think that's what we're trying to do right now. How do we use all these tools to manage it and be ready to go?
Are you able to accomplish everything you want to accomplish in terms of the basic parts of your job, planning whatever happens this offseason, planning for the draft, watching enough tape? I mean, will you be able to do your job so that on draft weekend you're comfortable?
Yeah, very much so. As far as watching tape, actually, in some respects, I don't want to say this is better, but as a coach sitting in your office, you get, as a head coach, you get interrupted 20 times a day. Well, there are no interruptions now. I'm watching tape and I watch all day. And last night I was watching till 10 o'clock at night in my house, watching college guys, watching draft guys for discussion. So from that standpoint of it, I think we're getting a lot done. I think what we're missing is, Chris and I are still talking every day. We can watch things together. But, Chris, I think, does a great job from the draft standpoint of involving all the scouts and all the coaches. And we still do some of that on Zoom, but we are missing a little bit of that.
Frank, one of the things that I was interested in doing in the column this week is sort of taking a day in the life of people inside the Colts. And I wanted to know if you could take me through, we're recording this on Friday, April 3rd. So let's look at Thursday, April 2. And you said you stayed up late to watch tape, but take me through your day from the time you get up to the time you go to bed. Give me an approximation of what Thursday, April 2 was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, you get up, have all my notes, right? So we all do it differently. So, I have my pad of notes here. When I'm watching tape on an individual guy, I just am writing them on there. And I have, we have I have my list, my list here of the guys I'm watching. So I'm going through that, setting that up at the beginning of the day. How many guys do I want to get watched today? What
time does your day start?
I'm still an early riser. I usually wake up around 5. But not get up, do a little reading, kind of take an hour, just kind of get together. Sometimes I'll work out first thing in the morning. Since I've been at home a little bit, I've really been working out kind of midday, right? Just because you're sitting around a lot, so you got to get up and do some exercise. But it starts, the first part of the morning is setting up the day, scheduling it just like you're at the office, mapping out what you're going to do AM. Hey, we're going to take a lunchtime. I'm going to work out. Then, we'll eat. And then in the afternoon, we'll have this meeting or that meeting, and then just map each day out. So that's really what yesterday was like. And then Chris Ballard and I were texting back and forth, watching tape individually, but texting back and forth literally till 10:30 last night, on some guys we've been watching.
What sort of Zoom meetings did you have during the day? Who was involved? What were those meetings about?
Yeah, so yesterday we had a Zoom meeting with the scouts. Chris led the meeting. you know, and it's all the scouts. And we were talking about defensive, and we just been going position by position. So yesterday was defensive tackles, and that was a 1 o'clock Zoom meeting. I think there was 19 or 20 people on that meeting. You know, Chris runs a meeting, Ed Dodds, the assistant GM, you know, they're both running the meeting. But the nice thing with this tool is everybody's involved, everybody's talking, everybody's giving their opinion, and you're going through position by, you know, player by player, where we have them on the board. Do we want to move them? Do we want to adjust them? Just like we'd be in the draft room.
How are you able to see the board in that? Is that?
Yeah, so we have an electronic board, you know, I mean, so Chris is sharing his screen, and we're looking at it just like it's our normal board.
How long did that meeting last?
I think it went.
And so then I assume you work out in your lunch period yesterday?
Yeah, lunch period is you know, get on the Peloton and, you know, get 45-minute workout in and get a good sweat and get up and move around. I mean, I find I have to just get up and move around. When I'm at the office, you're getting up and walking down the hall to talk to the coaches or talk to the scouts. Well, when you're at home, you don't do that. So I found I have to force myself to get up and move around a little bit more.
Do you remember during the course of that meeting that you had with your 19 or 20 scouts, do you remember, I mean, are you sort of giving your input onto each guy that you're watching? Is it organized like that? Do you just sometimes throw out a comment? How does that work?
Yeah, the way it works is not every guy comments on every player. If you have something you want to add to the equation, you add it. And so sometimes, you know, when you have a strong opinion, you make sure it's known. But you also realize there's 20 guys on there. So usually, for instance, in this meeting, there's a scout that maybe have the lead on that guy. He may speak a little bit more to it. Chris will wrap it up. You know, Chris will kind of start the discussion on the player, giving his view. And then a lot of times, you know, at the end of it, then I'll wrap up whatever comments I have on a player at the end. Chris kind of starts it off.
And how far are you into your position groups right now, Frank?
We're pretty far. You know, we've done, I would say, 3/4 of them. I would say we've done 3/4 of them.
How big of a disadvantage is it that you can't do things like the 30 visits, the extra physical, let's say? Some of the guys, Gil Brandt was telling me something really interesting yesterday. He said that of the 34 cornerbacks who were at the scouting combine, there's only a complete record on 14 of them. In other words, they ran their 40, they did the box drill, they did all of the things, physical drills that you do at the combine. So he said what really could hurt some teams is that you can't necessarily compare apples to apples if the guys haven't done all the same drills.
Yeah, that's true this year. You know, without, you know, all the pro days, without the 30 visits, you know, there's information that you got to work harder to get. So I would say this, on the 30 visits, I think we've done a pretty good job there. So immediately, the day that the 30 visits were canceled, whenever that was, a week, 2 weeks ago, we started immediately implementing within the next day or two Zoom 30 visits. So and what we found is those 30 visits via Zoom have been pretty productive. You know, we have to record all that. We have to we have to report all that when we're videoing a guy. We have to report that to the league. So every coach is instructed on here's the protocol, here's what we do. But, you know, I have found, I've talked to 1 or 2 guys where I watched film with them. I was there with one particular player. You know, I had a whiteboard behind me. I'm writing on the whiteboard. We're talking through stuff, and then we're showing film together. I'm showing his film. We're talking through his film. then we're just visiting personally. You visit for an hour. It's about an hour limit that you have on these, according to the league. And so you can still get a lot done.
How many of those have you done personally now?
I've been involved in a handful of those. Sometimes I'm on with other coaches who I'm asking to lead those, and
Right.
I'm in the background, just blurting in a question or two here or there. Have a bunch more scheduled, in the next week or two. We'll kind of keep that process going all the way up until the end.
Had you done any of the 30 visits in person before you started?
We might have had one. I can't remember. I think we might have had one defensive player that we had in.
Right. It's funny. Last week I wrote in my column about this safety from Cal named Ashton Davis, who, who knows? He's a talented guy, might be a second or third round prospect, but he's one of these guys who was left at the altar with all of these things. No pro day, hasn't run a 40, coming off surgery. Nobody can give him a proper physical, and all that kind of stuff. Not maybe him specifically, but do you find it difficult to bridge the gaps on players like Ashton Davis?
Yeah, I mean, the information is king, and getting as much information as you can. So, I would encourage players like that, find ways to get the information out there. A lot of these guys are working out at facilities. Like, I watched a video on YouTube last night. I don't want to mention any names, but there was a player who posted a video. He posted his own pro day video. So, he had somebody film it, and I somehow got, I got word that this was posted on the internet. And so I watched it last night on the internet. So if I was a player and I didn't have a chance to have a pro day, I'd have somebody, and I thought I had something to show somebody, I'd want to put it on tape. Coaches, we're obsessed with the tape. So give us something to look at, get a workout, and, you can still practice social distancing out on a football field with somebody recording the workout a long way away and post that. And I think we can do that in good conscience.
How did you feel after you watched that? Did you feel like you would learn something more about this guy that will help you?
Yeah, it was a good video. I sent the guy a text. I said, hey, I just watched your video. Yeah, I mean, that's the way you got to work these days.
Frank, what about the personal side of it and the fact that you're probably used to this time of year where there's a lot of camaraderie going on inside your facility, inside your office, not only about the draft, but in the structure of your off-season program and all that stuff. And here you are, you're a monk. You're a monk with a bunch of video equipment in front of you. So what is that like?
It's crazy. It is different. You have to still find ways to make it personal as you can. Yeah. So, checking in with players and coaches just on a personal level. We're trying to FaceTime a few guys, or, I'm checking in with different people to make sure all our guys are doing well, checking in with my family, checking in, just making sure everyone is staying healthy and doing their part. But at the same time, like you said, then you get in that monk mode where you're just in your cubicle grinding, getting your work done.
It's got to be a little bit odd too. Here you've signed Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers so well, and yet really, I think the rules are probably going to be mostly the same. You really can't have the kind of detailed football conversation you'd probably like to have with him until what, April 20th?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. I mean, we don't know for sure yet, but let's just say April 20th is when we were supposed to start OTAs. Obviously, we know we're not going to see the players on that date. But if we get the green light to go, then what I've instructed our coordinators is, be ready to have Zoom meetings on April 20th. If allowed, we'll have a team meeting on April 20th. If allowed, we'll have a meeting with a position meeting with the quarterbacks, with Philip, watching video, installing the offense, going over the snap count, doing all that stuff. We'll do it as a team. Then we'll break down offense and defense and special teams. They'll have separate meetings there, and then we'll break down positionally. So we're trying to set it up, Peter, so that that's seamless, so that the players know, right? We're even now, like I got some of our guys, I got David Thornton, who's our player development guy. He's talking to these guys all the time on a personal level. I'm telling him, make sure they all have Zoom installed, practice it with them a little bit so that when we get rolling, we can hit the ground running.
What have you been able to do, either Zoom or FaceTime with Philip, even just briefly, to exchange pleasantries? What has that been like?
Yeah, no, I mean, we want to do that from a football standpoint, but that's not allowed yet. I mean, you're allowed to contact players on a personal level. So I have called him just to check in. Obviously, know his family as well from when we were together before. His children. He's had a few children since I've left, but I haven't met them yet.
Frank,
so
you know what? You're probably going to be coaching 2 of his kids.
Oh, I know. But I still try to check in with guys, text, call.
Last couple things. What about being home in the day, which you never are? So I assume, you eat 3 meals a day and are you eating with your wife? And do you have any kids at home these days?
No, the kids are all older, but yeah, I mean, I guess, and I've actually talked about this with the coaches. You remind them, I remind them every so often, hey, just because we're at home, we're not on vacation. Now coaches are coaches, they're grinders. So I don't have to remind them, but you do, because that's my job, to hold them accountable and remind them, hey, we're working, we're not working half days, we're working full days. You got to get everything done, structure your day, plan your day. So I can say all that, but I can also say, hey, but when you eat lunch, guess what? You get to, if you've got young children, or if it's just you and your wife, you get to spend time with your family. Enjoy that. Take that hour, half hour, 45 minutes, and lock in with your family. And this is a unique time. It'd be foolish not to enjoy that aspect of it. I told the staff the other day, especially those with young children, as long as you get your work done, we're good. Meaning if you got to do something to help your wife with your children for a couple hours in the middle of the day, and then get more work done at night when they're in bed, that's fine. Be a good dad, be a good husband. Just make sure you get your work done, but you can do some of those things as well.
Do you know if any of your coaches right now or any of your scouts have teaching duties with any kids at home?
Great question. No, I'm not sure about that. I don't think they do. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard any, the 1 or 2 meetings that we've been on together as a staff, I haven't heard people talking like that. But
Frank, I want to just sort of end with 2 human things. I mean, you obviously see what's going on in this country, and watch some of the news, I'm sure, and know what's happening. I mean, have you ever seen anything that comes close to this in terms of disruption of our lives? And how do you think we'll come out of it?
No, I don't think I've seen anything like this. And, it's always a double-edged sword. There's always the sobering reality of people's lives that are affected. And, from a health standpoint, from an economic standpoint, and so you're very sensitive of that, and you feel that. I know Linda and I, my wife Linda and I, when we get together at night as the day's wrapping up and thinking about people and praying for, thinking about the bigger picture things, there are those people, especially the elderly, right? And especially the elderly. Linda has particularly always had a heart. She was a registered nurse for a lot of years and did a lot of work with the elderly people. So just have a heart for them. And so that is very real to us. But then there's the encouraging side, is to see it's always like anything that we faced as a nation, whether it be 9/11 or something like this, you see the positive side, you see people coming together. The message, I did a little thing the other day, a little press conference. And I just tried to give a message to our fans of, hey, every little detail matters. We say that with the Colts all the time. So let's all do our part. Let's all do our part on both sides of the equation, as far as the social distancing thing and being healthy and smart, making good choices, but also being intentional about reaching out and helping people.
Isn't it amazing? I don't know how much you watch it. I'm sure I watch more of it than you do. Isn't it amazing to see nurses and doctors quite literally putting their lives on the line? It's almost like they are on the front line of a war, that they're in Vietnam or Afghanistan or something. And it's, because every day you hear, well, X number of doctors at this hospital have come down with coronavirus, and they keep doing it. And it's amazing that they walk into this danger every day.
It really is amazing. It's amazing. It's inspiring, and they do it for the right reasons. And so, I know numerous people in the healthcare industry, healthcare workers, and we think and pray for them a lot. They're very courageous. They're doing it because they want to help people do their part, and they're really incredible.
Frank Reich, really appreciate you giving us a glimpse into what life is like in what is always an extremely busy time of year. Now it's busy and now it's different. So thank you.
Hey, always a pleasure. Thank you, Peter.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.